What I'm about to tell you might surprise you. Tempera paint isn't just for elementary students. As a matter of fact, Premium Tempera might just be the perfect medium for developing painting skills in upper-level classrooms and other art spaces as well. Why? Well, of course, it can be very budget-friendly, but that's only the beginning. Tempera dries quickly. It's safe for sinks.
It has a natural starch binder and allergen-friendly.
If it gets dried on brushes or gets onto your clothing, it is often fully removable with soap and water. As far as quality, there are many different grades of tempera. Blick Premium Tempera is made with the highest quality ingredients and light, fast pigments, so the colors stay bright and resist fading. Not only that, but Premium Tempera can perform many of the same techniques as watercolor, gouache, and acrylics. Today, I'd like to run through 7 different techniques for the intermediate to advanced tempera painter. So I've created a sketch of a scene that I would like to paint, and then I've cut it into pieces so that I can demonstrate each technique onto a single piece. The first technique is wet on wet. This popular watercolor technique can be employed with Premium Tempera as well. You can add water to the paint to make it more fluid, then cover the paper with water, then create bursts of color by just touching the paint right into the wet areas, just using the tip of the brush, like so. Another wet in wet technique that you might want to try is to create linear flow. And with this, you get the watercolor to kind of run down the page. As you can see, I'm kind of drawing a loaded brush back across the edges of the paper, and then I can tilt it so that it runs a little bit in the direction that I might want it to run to create some tree branches or other things like that. Now you'll notice my paper starts to curl as soon as it gets wet. I'm using a mixed media paper for this. Watercolor paper will curl as well. However, once it's dry, it will flatten back out again. You can also create soft edges, like I might want to paint here in the background, just using the watered fluid paint over the water, like so. Now let's set that aside to dry. The second technique I'd like to demonstrate is painting light over dark. Now, Premium Tempera is so opaque that light colors can be applied right over deep colors, producing some very high contrast effects. This technique is similar to drawing on dark paper with white pencils or pastels. For this technique, we'll want to use the paint full strength, straight from the bottle. And as you can see, I've already painted this section with some dark colors. Little water to the brush there. The more water I add, the more transparency I can get, and you can always come back and second coat to get brighter highlights. Do some highlights on the palm tree here, perhaps some stars starting to come out in the sky, and a little bit of highlighting on the rocks in front and in the water area. The third technique is lifting, which is really one of my favorite techniques. Lifting is a reductive technique that removes paint from the surface, kind of like painting in reverse. It can be used to fix mistakes, soften edges, strengthen highlights, or tone down colors that are too intense. It's also used to create special effects and interesting textures. Lifting can take place while paint is wet or after it has dried. Lifting can be done with a regular cotton swab. Get it wet with a little bit of water first if your paint is dry, as mine is here. And you can see I can lift away an area with a little water. These are scrubber brushes. They're a very stiff brush, but they've been formed so that they have a rounded edge that doesn't tear up your paper very badly. These brushes are made exactly for this purpose. Get them wet, and you can see how you can gently lift away with a little bit of water, and then come back with a little smaller brush. See how we're getting the highlights in the water that way. And dab the excess water away with a paper towel. Scrubber brushes make it very easy to control the amount of lifting, but if you do happen to lift too much, you can always go back in and add a little more paint. The next 2 techniques that I'd like to demonstrate. Number 4, glazing. Transparent watercolors are sometimes brushed over one another to modify their appearance. Glazing produces new colors and deepens values. It works best when working from light to dark values. For this technique, you'll want to add quite a bit of water to make the colors more fluid and transparent, and then use a light touch with the brush so you don't disturb the colors beneath. Layering is actually very similar to glazing. It's usually employed with semi-transparent colors such as acrylics or oils straight from the tubes, or opaque watercolor such as gouache. When layering, care must be taken to start with a thin layer of color and increase the consistency. They call this painting thick over thin. Layering can be done by starting with a dark color or light colors and building the values in either direction. Now I'd like to show you something you probably never thought you could do with tempera, and that's using painting tools. Tempera paint is self-leveling. The heavy body of tempera will flatten and form a smooth surface. However, you can create texture using painting tools that are often used for acrylic and oil painting. A plastic painting knife is an inexpensive tool that can be used to shape textures into paint. To use a plastic painting knife, you can mix colors simply by using the back side, holding it by the handles so that the front part remains flat against the page. You can use a wide sweeping motion, almost as if you're buttering a piece of toast. You can also dab with just the tip. And you can scrape through the paint with the edge while it's still wet to show the paper beneath. Multiple colors can be loaded onto the palette knife at once, go in different directions. Colors can be blended together or just left a little separated. Flexible tip shaper tools are designed to gently lift and to form lines and textures and patterns. You could also try plastic eating utensils, a wooden craft stick, sponges, or even the round end of a paintbrush. Technique number 7, oil pastel resist. Using oil pastel as a resist is another technique that's often used in watercolor or ink painting. This is a way to reclaim white areas quickly and easily without disturbing surrounding areas of color. Apply a white oil pastel, and it's kind of difficult to see where you're applying it. Next, paint over the top of it. Now, it looks like it's completely disappeared once the paint goes over the top of it. But set it aside to dry. And I have a version here that's the paint is already dried so that I can demonstrate. And then take a paper towel, dampen it with your finger, and then just kind of touch over the edges, and the area where the oil pastel has been applied will lift right away. You can also take a flat or a pointed tool and kind of scrape the paint off the top of the oil pastel and really bring out those white highlights. Here is a painting that's been done in pieces. I've taken all 7 of these techniques that I just demonstrated to you today and brought them together, puzzle fashion, into a single painting. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, Blick Premium Tempera is made with light, fast pigments, and it will not fade over time. It has a distinctive matte finish to it. However, you may prefer the glossy look of a varnished painting. Varnish will make the tempera paintings more durable and help protect them from damage. Spray varnish is easy to apply, but if you're concerned about aerosols, you can use a liquid acrylic varnish. Use a soft brush and a light touch so you don't disturb the color underneath. It looks milky white when it's wet, but it will dry perfectly clear. If I've changed your mind about the capabilities of premium tempera paint, then I've achieved my goal today. Give it a try and take your painting to the next level. There's a lot more information about using, mixing, and storing premium tempera and detailed information about each of these 7 techniques. Find it all at dickblick.com/lesson plans.